Hello and welcome to Comic Solving Problems. I'm Steve Allen.
And I'm Eric McElroy. Hello all. Hello, Steve. Hello. And welcome to our show where we are two comics who are here to solve problems.
Yep.
We're here to solve problems. We don't actually solve any.
Yep.
That's kind of one of the things that's a little bit of a twist of irony, I would say, in the show, if I understood what irony was. 20 years in the UK. Still not bothered. But we are here to look at the day's news, deal with those problems as they crop up. And if you'd like to send us problems throughout the show, you can do that via very different chat forums that are there, because this is live. You can tweet us, you can Facebook us, you can come around if you know where we live.
Oh, no, don't do that.
Don't
no,
do that.
I mean, you can go around to Eric's. Don't come around to mine.
Yeah, you know, if you hear the dog barking, you'll know you've come around. So yes, we've got a number of problems we're going to tackle. If you would like to, before we get too far into it, if you're on the Facebook and other platforms, you can share the show that you're watching it now, or you can retweet it on Twitter, or I don't know, what would you do on YouTube? Just watch it.
I've never really quite worked out what you do on YouTube, because also all the comments that people leave, because they're live chat comments, don't stay on the video afterwards. So share it. There's a share button. There you go. Share it.
There we go. Yep. Share. That's what we need to do these days, is share from a socially distanced way. And that's why we do this on the internet, because we want to be socially distanced. And I mean, Steve, you were pretty socially distant before there was even a pandemic, weren't you?
Yeah, I avoided people at all costs. And now who's right?
That's right. That's why Steve started doing stand-up in the first place, because he realized if he sat in the audience, he had to be near other people. But if he got up on stage, he already had 2 meters before he needed to have 2 meters. Yeah. So that's what got you into the business, isn't it?
I was solving problems before we had a show that solved problems. Just saying, throwing it out there. That's how much we're in charge of. We're on top of this situation.
So thank you for joining us. Send us problems if you'd like. Welcome to chat. And if you're enjoying what we're doing, you can also, as we do this, chuck us a drink. Because even though they've started doing live gigs in the UK, I've just did my first one last night, and Steve's done one. So we've both done one live gig in the last 5 months. So wow. Any drinks are appreciated. And I think, Steve, you've got our first problem to solve.
That's true. Look, I know there are lots of problems, especially at the moment we're in right now. We're kind of midway through August 2020. The virus is still out there. I know that in Birmingham, there's a concern about the number of people testing positive for COVID. Although, by the way, little sidebar, I can solve that problem straight out the gate. All you need to do is stop testing people and just ask some teachers who they predict would get COVID. So I'm 1 for 1 on problems already. It's not even COVID-related problems. It's not just those. Like, for example, a lot of us are scared to go outside because of the damage that could be caused by Ellen moving slowly towards the west. And I'm not even talking about Storm Ellen. I just mean the TV host from America, because apparently she's mean. She's nasty. But I think the shit cherry on top of the Bakewell tart of crap is that even with all this going off in our lives, train fares could get more expensive. You are kidding me. 1.6% is how much they could go up. Now, I'm getting very confused because I thought the message was that we were meant to be getting back to work. Yeah. We're meant to be, packing our briefcase, finding something to wear on the lower half and heading into the office. And that second one is harder than it looks because I'd packed away anything I hadn't worn since winter, so all trousers.
Yep.
And actually, as another side note, I'm starting to find this "you should get back to work" message. It's starting to grate a little bit because it tends to be it's posh people telling the working class to work more. Ooh, it's coming across a bit like this.
Hello, I'm one of your betters. I mean representatives in Parliament. And I'm here to say it's time that you got back to work to make this country great again. Now, I know many of you will still be working from home, but that's simply not good enough. We need to get you to work, spending money on petrol and trains, ideally through a shop where you could spend some of your money on something that's got VAT on it. The more that you spend on VAT, the less we need to ask posh people for extra income tax. Now, I know the virus is still in the community, but so should you be. You should be spending money on the high street, supporting some of those household names that make up where posh people have their pensions. I mean, that make up the backbone of society. So it's time that you did everything you can to make things better for us. Get out there, get this country back to normal, and die trying, or die trying. Do you know what? Can we start again?
So that's my take on the situation. It's coming across a bit like that, isn't it? Get out there, risk your life, and get this economy working for the people who benefit from the economy. So it's just a little bit cheeky that while we are apparently not meant to be spending time enjoying our life at home, giving up an hour each way, sitting in cramped conditions again, wearing a mask this time, we're meant to be paying 1.6% extra for the privilege. I think what you're doing there is giving us 1.6% more of a reason to stay at home and sod you. And to be fair, we know the reason that the ticket prices go up by this amount, they've set it so that certain ticket prices are linked to the rate of inflation in July. And can I just say, I almost need to lean in for this, can I just say, why haven't we worked out? We know the ticket prices are linked to inflation that's reported in July. Yeah. Why don't we all just stockpile in April? And we know how to stockpile now.
Yeah.
Stop buying anything when we get near to July. The inflation rate will go negative. We'll get cheaper trains, then we'll go back to normal. It's our own fault. In many ways, the fact that no one's listened to me solving probably the third problem I've solved today's show already, that's part of what it's all about. So, in terms of the way in which we are interacting with trains should change as well. And this is according to independent watchdog Transport Focus, who say that people are going to be working differently, so the train companies have to sell us different types of tickets. But we're talking about working from home, which means we're going to get conversations like this.
Hello, Trainline Helpline, how can I help?
Hi, I was looking to renew my season ticket, but I realised it's not really appropriate for where I'll be working in the future, you know?
Okay, where will you be working?
Mainly I'll be working from home.
So you're looking for a train ticket that takes you to your own home?
Yeah.
Well, the good news is, sir, we already do a train ticket like that.
Oh, yeah?
It's called a return.
So that's the situation that we are facing. Look, I interviewed someone once, back when I used to be able to get work and did some radio. I interviewed someone from a train company, And it was fun because they were saying things like, we provide an essential service. And I was saying, look, we don't want much. We just want to get into work on time. And they said, well, actually, our delays are less than they've ever been. And I said, all we need to do is be able to get into work at a reasonable price. Well, I think you'll find they're reasonable in comparison to blah, blah, blah. And I said, all people want is to be able to sit down. And they actually went, we can't guarantee you get to sit. Wow. They're not even trying to give us seats anymore. And yet, every single year it goes up. Our train's going to get 1.6% better. Are they my arse? So to solve this problem, I'd say this. Delay the pay increase, the price increase. We're not earning any extra money. We're heading face first into a recession. They should delay the increase. And if there's one thing train companies are good at, it's delaying things. So I think, first time ever, I've actually solved a problem. Watch this space, see if because I know a lot of the important people watch this show, Eric. So if they delay it, it will be because we suggested it here.
Well, I mean, it's not like the government ever backs down on anything they announce.
They don't even do it quickly these days as well. Like a quick U-turn's fair enough, but they give themselves 4 days worth of saying, we will not be performing a U-turn on this issue. Yeah. As soon as they do.
But it's very difficult to U-turn a train.
That is true. Yeah.
It's a little bit harder. Yep. You can't really, when you back it up around the corner to go back, it doesn't.
Yeah. Beeps and all that stuff. Yeah. We've got some messages on some of this stuff going through. Well, Chris says, evening all. Ellie speaks French to us. Ooh. Bonsoir, she says. Jeremy says, is Steve wearing a snowman tie? If so, it serves you right for falling for visiting the Rangers. Look, this is floral. Floral.
Oh, look at that. It does look like snowflakes because you are a snowflake.
Yeah, lefty snowflake. That's what I was on radio today. No, I thought I'd go for one of those outfits where I mismatch absolutely everything. Yeah. Ellie wants to know where Mark is. They're having more fun in the comment section than they do watching the thing. Mark turns up and says hello there. Evening, says Chris. And about 3:30, I think, is...
That must be about a train time.
Yeah, must be that. Must be.
I would imagine.
Are you going to be okay paying 1.6% extra? I mean, they've not said it will definitely go through. And if they don't vote this one down, I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really going. I mean, I don't go to the office. I don't go to gigs. So, I mean, the only thing that would get me is if they start charging for a train for me to go up and down the stairs in my house. I mean, that's pretty much where the bottleneck is here. Yeah. And there are delays sometimes. So, and if we have to downsize our home, because we're probably moving in November, and go down to maybe one toilet, that's going to be a bit tricky because, it's like on the trains when that one toilet breaks. Yeah. So it's going to be like in the house. So
that's occupied for the entire journey.
Yeah, the door doesn't lock properly, so it can be awkward. My
grandmother used to have a stand-up chairlift up and down the stairs.
Really?
And so, because she broke her ankle when she was a teenager, and then by the time I was a late addition to the family, so everyone was really, really old. And the brake had effectively worn away, so they had to put a metal rod through it when I was a kid. And then by the time I was a teenager, and this is where it gets gross, the metal rod had worn away the bone around it. Ooh. So she couldn't walk, my grandmother, and she was the old chairlift. It's brilliant. Nice. So I'd pay for that.
And you even have any stairs in your flat?
No, I still have a flat one just along the corridor.
Just to go. Well, you could have it, take you around the flat. Just go around.
I could have it going between my two different toilets. Yep. Rubbing in.
You and the two toilets. Yes. Well, thank you very. We've got loads more chat in there. Snowman tie. Oh, I can see the snowman tie. The main bus company in the West Midlands used the money received via furlough to pull buses fares down. Look at that. Bragging about the Midlands.
Yeah. They're not my people. That's West Midlands. I'm East Midlands.
Oh.
So, never the twain. Never the twain.
No. Is that like East Sussex and West Sussex?
No, how dare you?
I don't know. All these places sound the same to me.
So if you're enjoying the show enough to put some money in our pot, the link's down the bottom, and it's slightly different than before. There's fewer letters in it because we've rebranded the show. Spread it, keep the messages coming, and we'll keep trying to solve some problems for you.
Yes, and we're going to turn to the U.S. now, because how do you solve a problem like having a virtual nomination convention? Because that's what they've been doing in the state. We've been doing the Democratic Party nomination. We're down today. Tonight will be the final day where Joe Biden accepts the nomination for the party. Last night, night, Kamala Harris became the first woman of color to be a major party vice presidential nomination candidate. And so she did the speech. So they've been doing virtual speeches, mostly it's sort of the Zoom convention that they've had. And the thing was, she made her speech, and we've got a shot of her here just starting the speech. And I have to say, she looked so fucking happy. There's no other way to describe it. But she is clearly like, you know what? I just want to throw this one out there to Josie Perkins, who in the 3rd grade said I was a loser. Fuck you, Josie Perkins. Fuck you. I didn't mean, we try not to swear a lot in the show, but there's just that look of joy in her face clearly showed to me that she was definitely throwing it back at someone. She's like, "Oh, you watching TV tonight, Josie? Okay, bye." Bye, Josie. It was weird, though, because, of course, she did make the speech on a convention stage like they normally do, because these are huge productions, right? So she did do it on, like, a big stage, which because of social distancing, and it made for some weird optics. Like, here it is at the very start of it.
Greetings, America. It is truly an honor to be speaking with you tonight.
First off, she looks so tiny. That was the first line. Like, why not start with a face shot? And then you're zooming in, like, did they nominate the littlest woman in America? I mean, if
the
that
borrowers.
on for, I mean, that's a high level of social distancing. If she's that small and we're that far away, I mean, that's kind of social distancing you only want if you're on a packed train and someone has BO. I guess that's the one case where wearing those masks are going to be helpful. So part of the point of this is that people kind of know who she is, but one of the staples of these speeches is to give a little bit of your family history, and so she did that, and we've got she listed a list of things and people that she wanted to thank for being there. We've got a little sample of that.
Family is my uncles, my aunts, and my chitties.
Now that one raised a little bit of eyebrows, because do you know what the chippies are, Steve?
If I were to guess, I'd never work again.
Yes, she wasn't talking about getting a snack with the family and going to the chippies. It's a Tamil word because she's actually South Asian American, half black, half South Asian American, and it's referring to her mother's sisters. That's what chitti means. But Donald Trump was very confused by that because he doesn't know what family is. Actual jokes.
The incompetence.
I thought you'd tag me up for the next clip because you just left a gap.
I paused because I thought you might laugh at that joke, and you didn't. But that's fine. There was some weird optics there, because the social distancing, and there's no crowds, but they still, when they do this, they still do the pan shots as if there was a crowd, which looked weird, and that's what we've got here.
The incompetence makes us feel afraid.
There's no one there.
The callousness makes us feel alone.
Creepy. There's just these little poles that are representing the different states of the union, where normally you'd have the delegates crowded around those poles, but instead it was just empty. And I don't know if you caught what she was saying there. Can we play that one again?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can.
Sorry.
Yep.
The incompetence makes us feel afraid. The callousness makes us feel alone.
No wonder she's alone. There's no one there. That was just an ad lib. Now, she did make some promises about what kind of administration she and Joe Biden would bring to the table, and we've got that promise here.
But I pledge to you that we will act boldly and deal with our challenges honestly. We will speak truths.
Truths? Honesty? What is she? Have they learned nothing from Donald Trump's presidency? What the hell are they thinking? No one wants the truth. The man might get reelected, and the only thing that he's truthful about is the fact that he never tells the truth. Oh, dear.
He's like, I love the idea you've effectively made it seem like, that riddle of there's a guy stood in front of each door. One always lies, one always tells the truth. Donald Trump is both guys.
Both guys.
Basically like, you're not getting in.
Oh, God, don't tell us the truth. The big moment, though, of any of these speeches, it was when the person says, I accept the nomination. And so even though it didn't have the crowds, didn't have everything else, we had that moment.
I accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States of America.
She still paused for the applause, because that's what you would normally do. That'd be a big moment. Yeah. Balloons would drop, standing ovation. It's like that moment where both of us have had on stage where you deliver a punchline and no one laughs.
To be fair, you had one of those moments a little earlier on when I played a clip. I was like, you must have been taking the clip
because that joke didn't make any sense. So fuck you too, Steve. And but I thought, you know what? That's terrible. That's awkward. I don't like seeing that for Kamala. I'm very happy that she got the nomination, so I fixed it, and here it is.
I accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States of America.
That's how it should be, isn't it? That's better.
I'm
not socially distanced, but it was quite nice.
Yeah, that's fine. It was Michelle Obama's crowd, but whatever. They're available now.
I didn't realize those posts were representing the different states. I just thought they were marking out where 2 meters was.
No.
Because I went into a park recently and they'd done that. On the floor, they'd mapped out 2 meters. And then I started to get, I'm like, look, every so often, if I'm in the wrong mood, I go a little bit beautiful mind on it. And I was trying to work out if the hypotenuse was 2 meters, could we have packed these in so much more efficiently? Like, surely you just need one in the center of the polygon. No one had fun in the park when I was around there doing that.
Were they doing a presidential convention in the park?
No, they had as many people. Fair enough. All right, I've got some more messages coming through on this if you want to join in. So I mentioned the fact that there might be, I've got the two different toilets. All right, you've got 2 toilets, I've got 2 toilets, but you have more need of them.
I've got a house and kids and a dog.
Yeah. Have you trained the dog to use the toilet?
Well done. Saying. Well, to be honest, he's not the only one that uses the garden.
You won't if you move to a place with 1 toilet. There's going to be a lot of stuff in the garden. I've got 2 toilets here in this area, and if we go to the messages, is it Chris? It's just gone off the first page over there on that one. I think it's Chris who says that's 1 in the East Wing and 1 in the West Wing.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Mark says that if you flush both at the same time, the house takes off. Then they get stuck into, apparently, Ellie's got a room that currently has a lovely ensuite. I feel like an overnight ferry to somewhere in Europe. However, there's no cold water. Oh, no, that's the problem with the heat wave.
Cold water?
If you can't get cold water. Sometimes, I've lived in places where on a hot day, even the cold water's hot.
Wow.
Ooh, damn it. Mark says, I have a wet room too. By that I mean I've got one that's got the rain's made one corner damp. Chris says nothing worse than a damp corner. Mark says I'd rather have a fruit corner. That conversation's going to go on for a while. We'll leave them to it.
We're going to start talking about the pee-pee tape soon. There we go.
You keep the messages coming through wherever you're watching it. You can tweet us our things on the screen, and wherever you're watching this, you should be able to get stuck in with the comment section as well. And if you're enjoying it enough, a little link down the bottom to chuck some money in our pot.
Please do.
Right, I wasn't going to talk about the exams again.
Right.
Because we covered it before, and I sat there today thinking, we talked about how bad the algorithm was. This is an algorithm that if you came from a poor background, gave you a worse score. I looked into it, and technically it was an algorithm written on a computer in BASIC, and I think it was just called Working Class Killer 3000. It's a great piece of technology, that. But I decided we've only covered half the story. We were right to say an algorithm churning out that you should get a worse score if you're poor is terrible. But what's replaced it is also terrible. Just letting teachers come up with their predicted grade and saying, well, we better stick to that because anything less is going to get us bad press.
Yeah.
Is also going to churn out the wrong results because effectively you've asked teachers this question. Hello, speaking. Yes, I teach that class. So you'd like me to suggest which grades they would get, thereby implying how well I taught them? Well, settle down. This is about to sound like 2 Scousers arguing A. So that's what we're dealing with. Of course, if you're just going to let teachers pick their grades, they're going to say good ones because it's going to make them look good, and then you're going to get grade inflation. Wait for it, grade inflation, record-breaking results as teachers hand out more top grades. Well, there's a surprise, and I've been watching all the news all day. I mean, in some ways, if you don't think about the impact on what it means for this year's cohort of results, it's been lovely to see loads of kids wearing their masks, getting all excited, getting the results. I saw one on BBC News earlier going like, wow, this is great. I got 9 GCSEs, yay, which is really impressive because I only sat 6. So it's been really good for them. And also, side note, if you failed a GCSE today Ouch. I feel sorry for you. The teacher hates you, basically. There's no two ways around it. Grade inflation is such a problem with GCSEs. I suppose you wouldn't have had that, Eric, because you came over after all your education. Yep. So it used to be a simple thing. You take an exam, you get an A, B, C, D, E. And if it was lower than a C, you'd basically failed, is what we're told back in the day. And then they got way too many people getting A's, so they brought in A star, which managed to divide the A category into... why you could just make it harder, but then more people would fail, and we didn't want that. Yeah. And then a couple of years ago, they started to swap things round, and this will impact your kids, because now GCSEs aren't scored on letters, they're scored on numbers.
Correct.
And the reason they do that, this is my opinion, I'm saying it as fact, but as soon as they brought it out, I thought they're bringing that out so that it's harder to compare the letters to the numbers, so it's harder to prove grade inflation. And sure enough, today, they've been saying, well, you can't really compare the figures because you made them uncomparable, you git. And also, I found it really weird when they brought out the number system that 1 isn't the best, that 9 is better, 9's the top grade and 1's the worst grade. Because of that well-known phrase, you to me, you're my number 9. It does make some sense, though, because if it went the other way, you'd have the same problem. So if 1 was the top grade, then at some point too many people would have 1s, so you'd have to have 1, or you could score a half, or you could score a third, or you could score a quarter. Basically, you'd end up with an equation where each year it becomes 1 over n. If you look at that as a series and look at the limit as it approaches infinity, then, and if you times it by the number of people getting those scores, times the 1 over n as n limits towards infinity, it actually is the definition of calculus for what an integral is. It would just give you the area under the curve. And even by knowing that, I'm just being told I've just been awarded another GCSE. Oh, thank you. It's really good. That's how easy it is to get them these days. But it does mean now it's a 9. In the future, too many people getting 9s, slap a 10 on that list. Too many people getting a 10s, slap yourself at 11. Basically, I think the meeting where they talk about what GCSEs are like probably goes like this.
These GCSEs, right, they go all the way to 11. Look, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11. Most GCSEs just go to 9. When we need that little extra push over the cliff, do you know what we do? We go to 11. Why don't you just make 9 harder and make 9 the top grade? We go to 11.
So it's just what it's like these days. So yeah, I feel sorry for anyone who's getting caught up in this absolute mess. Some people are really upset that, what have we learned from this? What have the children learned from this? That for this year, it's not about your ability or your competence that shows how successful you are. Yeah. And that's a good life lesson because look at Gavin Williamson. It's nothing to do with ability and competence and yet still manages to succeed. So thank you for people getting in touch on this subject, especially if you've got any kids who've been going through this. Then do get in touch. Let's have a look. They're still talking about the wet rooms or whatever. Chris says, have the exam results been worked out on a BBC microcomputer? Yep, that's what it was.
I think what they need, Steve, because they've got the old A-level grades of ABC or whatever, and you've got the new ones, and the way to compare them, they should just use an algorithm.
Wow, what could possibly go wrong?
But I know some people are saying that these grades aren't earned in the same way, but the grades you get from an American high school, that's what your teacher gives you. So you don't get, it's basically you work all year, you do the homework assignment that's assessed by the teacher. At the end of the year, you might take a final, but it's written by the teacher and assessed by the teacher. And the grades are given to you by teachers judging your work. So this isn't this idea that you have to have an exam at the end of each coursework to make it valid
is correct.
Bullshit.
It's correct. You can't just have teachers going, yeah, I like, because then you've got another level of bias written into the system.
They're professionals. But I have given so much money in Christmas gifts to our teachers. Kids better do well. They better do well.
Let's have a look here. Some of these messages. I wonder if you can claim those back if the kids don't do well. Ellie says, I agree so much, Steve. The whole saga has bored me silly. Couldn't they... Oh, is there more messages coming in? It's going to keep flipping on that page. Right. Couldn't they have just taken the exams outside? Oh, my God, that would have been really good.
Yeah, I think...
Why don't anyone think about that? Do you remember taking exams? We were 2 meters away from everyone because back then people were worried about cheating, not COVID. So, oh God... or in any way an empty venue. Yep, good point. Well made. Mark says, your grade theory sounds like Trek warp theory. The nearest you get to 10, the harder it is to achieve. Yeah. Although originally in Star Trek, the original one, I think the warp factor... Look at him.
We've already had to listen to your integer thing. Now we're going to get into warp speed as if it's real. And I'm like Star Trek, but...
So your warp factor to the power of 3 times the speed of light gives you your speed, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. But to make it harder to achieve, so you can make it hyperbolic maths, which means how very dare you. No, that's a proper phrase. So that would work out. And then Jordan sends us a link, which I'm not going to be able to watch because it's a YouTube link. Thanks for that in the middle of it. Busy right now.
One of the things we want to do in our live show is, what can we watch right now? That's helpful. I can't tell if you. And if you, I can't see any more there. I've got another problem to come up, and if you're enjoying the problems that we're solving,
link down the bottom. Yeah,
link is there. That's another. I'm turning to the U.S. again because there's just so much political news happening in the States, Steve. And that is a problem. What do you do if you used to work for Donald Trump? And it basically seems like there's 3 categories of things that you can do. And we've seen this based on today's headline for Steve Bannon. And one of the things you can do is you can get arrested. It's a popular choice for people who used to work for Donald Trump. Steve Bannon was a campaign manager. We can see we've got another Donald Trump's first campaign manager. We've got that here, Corey Lewandowski. He was charged with assault for grabbing a member of the press. That's one option you can go for there. You can go the other way if you want. Also another campaign official. You got Manafort, Paul Manafort. He was convicted. And is now in jail, bless his heart. And the Senate just came out with a report making it look like he pretty much did collude with the Russians. That's one choice. So when you stop working for Donald Trump, and hopefully there's going to be a lot of people who are no longer working for Donald Trump after November 3rd, please vote if you can. And even if you can't, apparently it's going to be all mail fraud anyway, so go for it. But
if there are any dogs and dead people listening, please vote.
Any dogs, cats, not the cats. Fickle bastards. No, another choice. So if you don't want to go down the convicted route, or at least not get caught yet, you can do what Michael Cohen is doing, which we mentioned on Tuesday. He's gone down the path. He's actually he did go to jail as well, but now he's going to write a book. So he can do the tell-all. And I'm looking forward to this book because he's going to talk about the PP tapes. And I've heard he's got a picture section in the book. Not
a scratch and sniff section.
So many people have stopped working for Donald Trump and have written books about what they've seen behind the scenes there. I mean, Trump, for a man who doesn't read, he's done very good for books. It's pretty incredible. Now, the other option is that you can go, which is happening right now. We're getting a number of Republicans who spoke at the Democratic Convention and are just going on TV, and they're speaking out to warn us that they tried to fix Donald Trump by working with him, and he's unfixable. And we're seeing this now. We've got Miles Taylor. We've got the headline here, I think, who worked in Homeland Security. He's come forward saying he's backing Biden. He says others are going to speak out as well. He's speaking out. And he's come out. He's been all over the cable news shows in the States. And he gave some examples because he's working in Homeland Security. So he was having to brief Donald Trump about a pending hurricane that was coming towards the U.S. And this is what he said it was like talking to him.
And then he turned to me and he said, I've got a question. Yes, Mr. President. He said, do the hurricanes always spin this direction? He meant counterclockwise. Now, that's called the Coriolis effect. Same thing that causes toilets to spin the other direction in Australia, a follow-up question he also had. But this is what the president was focused on. Americans were in the path of a deadly hurricane. He needed to get out there and tell them to evacuate, and he was just marveled at the way that hurricanes spin. In a way, a third grader might, learning about earth science.
Steve, that is a terrible thing to say about third graders. They are smarter than that.
Yeah.
And it's science. You can see it swooshing there. So, that's how it works. Other way.
I love the way you started speaking about the need to evacuate. Well, it's a good job you've been studying toilets.
It's another use of them. That's something that Donald Trump would understand. Miles was pretty harsh in that interview about what he found working for Donald Trump. And of course, as in America, because we can do lots of things with political campaigns, his commentary on what Trump would be like if he won re-election has already been turned into a campaign advert, which we have here.
The president's reelected, the guardrails will be gone. We should expect, quote, shock and awe if the president wins a second term. You will see a flurry of executive orders. You will see the president pull out of foreign alliances. You will see the president align with dictators around the world. And if right now we're less safe because we have fewer friends and stronger enemies than before, you can expect to see that on steroids in another 4 years of the Trump administration.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
It's exactly what he wants to do.
Wow,
that's the clearest sign of an agenda for Donald Trump in 2020 that we've had so far.
I also think that Coriolis effect business is true for weather systems, but I don't think it's noticeable. I think it's a fallacy that toilets spin the other way.
I googled it in the prep for this, and it said that they do.
But you need a really still body of water that's then emptying, and then you could slowly start to build it up. The force isn't enough to make a toilet spin the other way.
I googled it. It said it does go the other way in Australia.
On this, I call Google a bullshit.
It does. You look at the comments. I'm going to look this up.
Yeah. I'll go through some comments because they're going to get nerdier, and I apologize for that. So, because for yet again, what is probably now the 7th time in a row we've done a show that started to mention Star Trek, because I've not been getting out much. Chris says, I only recently found out that full impulse speed is only a quarter of light speed. Quite disappointing, if I'm honest. And I'm shocked by that, because I always thought it should be nowhere near light speed. It's a different kind of physics, because they establish a warp field with your Heisenberg dampener, but it should be really small on that. Mark says, actually, impulse is possible up to 0.75 c, so 3/4 of speed of light, but with assistance. Chris says, I did wonder if it was. Ellie says, geeks. Ooh, that's harsh. 0.25 speed of light is normal limit for the relativistic considerations, twin paradox. The thing that always sits weird with me, there's an episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine when we find out that Julian is actually genetically engineered. They're in some sort of a spaceship where the warp engine's down, and he works out it will take so many hundreds of years to get back. It doesn't make no sense with no, impulse speed should be way slower. Slower.
Stop.
Bothers me.
Google's not working right now.
Yeah. I'll tell you why. It's because they're embarrassed that they got it wrong about the Coriolis effect.
Well, it's not working because I don't like the answer that I found. So it says here that toilets do flush backwards in Australia because the jets are pointed in the opposite direction.
Which
is also known as the Coriolis jet effect.
Yeah. It's such a weak force, though. That in comparison to other forces like gravity just pushing the water down, it's going to overwhelm it, and gravity is a weak force anyway. Not that it's technically the weak force, that's something in the center of the nucleus.
Stop.
Anyway, moving on.
If you want Steve to stop, put the money thing up. The more money you give us, the more money we will. We can make Steve stop talking about science.
I should do a science podcast or a science live show. It feels so. I mean, you're right.
Where's the pay link to make him stop?
No one to watch.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
10 pounds or more. Stop talking. We have had a couple come through, so thank you for those. I can see Gary give us a nice little donation, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ellie says, I'll go and sit outside for a while. I think it's because of all the science. Or maybe she's going to go and sit an exam. That's where they should be doing them these days. Flush backwards, that could be awkward. It would make a mess of the ceiling. Yeah, you want to clear the path on that one. Well, that's just what they call a B-day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is reverse right up the. Anyway, Ellie says the date today is 28/20. Yep, it's almost palindromic. I like what you're doing there. So that's getting some science going in it. Keep the messages coming through. We've not checked YouTube or Twitter for a while. Let's see what we've got going on here. You can keep the messages coming through. Our Twitter things are down the bottom of the page. And if you'd like to chuck some money in our pot, there we go. But we are running out of time. And so I better do my last topic. Is about Panto, or rather bad news about Pantos.
No.
UK theatres, they're worried whether this Panto season, this make or break Panto season could go ahead, and I've been reading lots of local newspapers saying that they're not going to go ahead. So even though theatre spaces are open, it's not going to be worth the money. Pantos are really expensive, and it is a shame because it feels like a part of British culture that it's a small difference. You know, when you start a pandemic, you don't think, and I bet it means no Pantos. But it's a shame they're not there. And it's a bit like the high street. in that I'll miss it when it's gone, but I have not really been helping out. I've not been for years to either a panto or a high street. When was the last time you went for a panto?
It was a couple years ago because of the kids, and it had Henry Winkler in it, which was very strange.
The Fonz.
The Fonz, yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
wow.
Yeah.
Last time I went was about 5 or 6 years ago, which is eerily recent for a bloke who don't have kids.
It's creepy.
Yeah, and here's the story. It's because I just started dating an actress who was in a panto. So I went, to look willing. And no one ever tells you this. There is no more uncomfortable feeling on this planet than being a fully grown man sat in a panto audience surrounded by school trips. Society is not ready for that. It shouldn't judge, but it flipping does.
Was there social distancing that happened organically at that point?
I did try. I was right at the back, but even then, there are so many awkward bits, like... because there's always the bit where the cast start throwing out sweets into the audience.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, oh God, this is going to get awkward. Because I've got a good reach and good reflexes, so I could totally like beat all the kids. Mine. But that's frowned upon. But it's also frowned upon that if one lands on you and you catch it, you can't keep it, but you also can't give it away and turn to a kid and say, do you want some sweeties? So... there is no easy way out of this. It's an awkward thing.
But wait, so you went to the panto and you sat at the back. So basically, every time they went, he's behind you. You were there. Hello, kids.
Very awkward situation. Ellie went to one in 2017. Mark's never been to one. You're missing out on this.
No, you're not.
Well, I mean, you are, because you can't. What did you not enjoy? The panto when you went to see it?
It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. I mean, seeing Aladdin, which is a story that happens in the Middle East, but for some reason everything was set in China, and then at the middle of it you've got pop rock songs that come on, and so it's racist, it's historically inaccurate, and it's musically crap. So the whole thing was... I mean, as straight-laced as British people and cultured as you pretend to be, and then you put on this dribble. I'd say if there's any victim of the pandemic, let it be the panto.
Wow. They are probably coming to revoke your British citizenship if you've said that about the pantomime. So it's a tradition. It's so there are those things like the "it's behind you" phrase, which I think would really help if we're trying to do COVID compliant ones. And it's a shame that of all the different art forms to go, it is such a tradition that I don't have to want to go and see it, but I want it to still be there to know that it's a nice thing that happens in the UK. It's not the only one though, because a few months ago the West End run of Phantom of the Opera was cancelled because of the coronavirus lockdown, and that one didn't make any sense because the main character was already wearing a mask. And I think what they should do is do like EastEnders do. Carry on, but do it in a way that's COVID compliant. So Cinderella wouldn't go to the ball. I admit, an indoor gathering of that many people, no. Snow White, it's just bubbling with the Seven Dwarfs. Admittedly, one of them is sneezy, so that's an instant lockdown for 14 days. And Aladdin, the one that you went to see, would still rub the lamp, but I'm not sure if it activates the genie if you're doing it with an antibacterial wipe. So actually, do you know what? Now I'm thinking about it, it's not going to work. Let's wait until 2021, bring them back then, just in time for them all to be cancelled, because it is cultural appropriation where all the women are played by men and the principal boy is played by a woman. So that is going to get shut down as soon as someone remembers. So yeah, I don't think that's one that I managed to solve.
Yeah, probably not, but that's probably a good thing.
Oh, actually, Chris is on that point straight away. Men dress up as women. The principal boy is a woman. We all need a sex doll, and we'll be in Amsterdam. Catchphrases.
Having a sex doll for a few shows. What's Mark saying to me? It sounds like a forthcoming RNC. What, me trying to shut down the panto? Or just the cultural inappropriateness. There's so many things that could be part of the Republican agenda. Right, we're sort of running out of time, and I've still got to talk about chickens, don't I?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah,
do the chicken
all right, cool. What do you do? This is a big problem. What do you do with homeless chickens? It's a question I ask myself every day. And luckily, there's a woman who rehomes them, which I saw on the BBC this afternoon. I think we've got the headline here, which proves that it's true. Chicken rehoming charity gets 52,000 lockdown requests to have hens. Now, of course, I'm sure that came at the beginning of lockdown when we couldn't get an egg to save our lives, and which what we were trying to do, save our lives. I mean, eggs were one of the first things to go, and that's why we've stockpiled them. But I don't know how long they last. It is starting to smell in the cupboard. But what happened was, they're trying to rehome these chickens, and obviously lots of people want to have chickens just to, so they can have their own eggs and everything else. But because this is a charity that cares about the little birds, I mean, they're thick as shit. I don't know why, but they want to make sure that they're housed in an appropriate place. So they require that you send in a picture of the fact that you've got a big enough cage for the hens and that you've got garden space for them to range in. So people have to send in a picture, and I would imagine it's a picture that looks like this. We've got a sample of what a nice little chicken coop would look like.
Nice.
So they had these 52,000 requests. They said, okay, well, send us what is your garden. The problem is that so many people sent in essentially probably this picture. Literally, people just Googled back garden chicken coop and started sending in pictures. And then because they were getting so many requests, they were getting the same back garden picture. They're like, no, you're clearly lying. I mean, I don't know what their plan was to recage these poor freed chickens. We also saw some other pictures of places that were denied a chicken. This one apparently wasn't eligible to have a chicken. Mordor. He's not a place for a chicken, even though they tried to make it look like he was happy there. That was one place that was denied. There were some people who basically thought, well, we don't really have a garden. We'll send in a picture of our garden. But they went in the wrong direction, and they exaggerated a little bit, like these folks here. You don't live in Versailles, mate. Just whatever.
I
someplace.
Love the scale on that as well. Imagine the size of that chicken.
I mean, you could have a big chicken like that if you had that big of a garden. And then some people, they were just honest about it, and they don't have gardens at all, which we could see here. These folks didn't have a garden at all. Yeah.
What's going on with all of
that? What's strange is the only photoshopped part of that image is the chicken. The rest of that is all real. Poor little, I mean, this is a younger picture of poor little Barron Trump. He looks miserable, that poor kid.
Well, he's miserable because one of his older brothers is just about to shoot that lion.
That's what I was going to say.
Hey, not that we've been working together for too long.
We know we've been working together for too long. But Trump, actually, obviously that's a fake photo because Trump only likes his chicken fried.
Yeah, fetch the bucket.
And in a bucket. So
I love that idea of people thinking, oh, they want a photo of me proving I've got space for a chicken. So they've all basically just Googled the same image, sent it in, and used a stock photo.
You've got to be careful when you use stock photos.
Yeah. Or in this case, a livestock photo.
Boom! There you go.
That's what we're here for. That's what we do.
So if you'd like to pay for jokes like that, livestock photo.
Look, we're overrunning. It's have we sorted out that story? In terms of Panto, I've got an update for you, Eric. Stephen says Pantos aren't any good, eh? Oh yes, they are. Nice.
Right, we need to go soon, but we've got something from a correspondent. Right?
Yeah, Philip Brannon, who we're going to have to update him to correspondent status because he's sent in so many stories that we've actually turned into content. So all the ones about the naked boar, various other stories he sent in. So an update from him was just a short little one that he sent today saying, he asked us the question, are we going to eat beetroot on the show? Which is not really that much of a problem. And we could have done, but I'm going to say no. But apparently it's because beetroot is better than people were thinking. It's a really healthy treatment. It keeps you healthy. And I'm not sure that it does. I like beetroot, don't get me wrong. I like, it's quite sweet. It's tasty. It's a nice vegetable. How do we deal with this indelicate side of it?
Yeah.
It's a food that if you forget that you've eaten it and the next day nature takes its course, you go and drop the kids off in one of the two pools and you turn around and see the carnage that's in there. Red. So much red that you call the doctors and have a thorough checkout. And I think it's more about the fact that you're checked up by the doctor so often that keeps you healthy rather than any vitamins and phytonutrients in that beet. So thanks for the story, but I'm taking it as no, we're not going to eat beetroot live on the show. That would be some weird, dirty Amsterdam-based stuff.
Yeah. I try and chop it up in little bits and just hide it in my wife's food.
So that she doesn't know she's eating it and then thinks she's...
It's so funny.
Keeps her on the edge.
Wow. Life insurance policy's paid up. So
yeah, that's you should do that one on the stage. It's like my taps joke. It works for all the wrong reasons. All right, well, I think we're out of time for the show. Some more messages came through. Chris saying skin, hair and teeth everywhere. Mark says with Brexit it'll be a bloody mess. I think they're talking about what it'd be like to do a Brexit-based panto next year when they come back. Beetroot, devil's own vegetable, along with Brussels sprouts and aubergine, says Chris Curling. Chris, on this we disagree. The aubergine. Oh, I love an aubergine. Do you not like an aubergine?
I like eggplant.
Yeah. Eggplant. Come on. Come on. Aubergine. What I like about aubergines is there are two things. I think, no, actually, of the two jokes I know I've done in the past about aubergines, I prefer one of them, so let's pretend it's only one thing. The thing I like about aubergines, definitely did this on a BBC Kent sketch, is they look a little bit like the alien from the film Alien.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm in the supermarket, you can hear me shouting, "Get away from her, you bitch!" One way to get yourself thrown out of Safeway, isn't it?
Yep.
I think that's all. Oh, and then I'll take your sprouts and raise you peppers. What's wrong with you people not liking the peppers? Are great.
Peppers are good. Don't eat anything purple.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to. Okay,
Let's
never
stop
mind.
there before it turns. So this technically wasn't part of the Ed Fringe. That was just for booking reasons. But next Tuesday we're back with another Ed Fringe special, part of the Edinburgh Festival that no one attended to, just like our normal Ed Fringe appearances.
Yeah, our audiences in Edinburgh kind of look like the people listening to Kamala Harris's speech.
We should bring more posts with us next time.
But yes, we will be back next Tuesday and Thursday at 9 o'clock in the UK live. And please do subscribe, like the show, share the show, do all those kind of things. If you do have money and you are beyond furlough or actually employed, unlike us, feel free to drop us a drink to keep us going and keep us in our beetroots and aubergines.
Or eggplants. If you've managed to get yourself some kind of chicken plant in a garden, dropping some eggplants, you can eat them for free. I think that's how it works. So until Tuesday, 9 o'clock, if we're all sorted, we'll see you then.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.